Matšatši a masometlhano ba sa itemogele tiragalo tša go tingwatingwa ga maatla a motlakase ka go šielana gomme seo se ba fa kholofelo ye kgolo gore ditaba tša bona tša phepelo ya motlakase di ela go lokeng.
On the show today, the president is in George following last week's building collapse. Zuma's arms deal corruption trial set down for next year, April. 2 people arrested for the murder of 5-year-old Limpopo. 4 suspects killed in a shootout with cops in KZN. And our book of the week is from the mayor and deputy mayor of Benoni. All of that over the next hour. 7:02.
Let's walk the talk.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Report on 702 and Cape Talk with me, Mandy Wiener. As you heard in the news bulletin there, 2 people have now been arrested for the murder of 5-year-old Limpopo in Soshanguve over the weekend. Police searching for a 3rd suspect. Important breakthrough there. But of course, the fact that this incident occurred is so heartbreaking and harrowing. Police also shooting dead 4 suspects in a shootout in KwaZulu-Natal who are believed to be linked to organized crime. A number of shootings like this we've seen over the past few weeks involving police in KwaZulu-Natal, and we've heard very mixed reactions to that from various quarters. We'll speak to our reporter who's on the scene there in KwaZulu-Natal as well. But we start in George, where I've just been watching on the TV news the President, Cyril Ramaphosa, being met in George by the Western Cape Premier, Alan Winde. He's meeting with the victims' families before going to the disaster site of that building that collapsed. So at the moment, the President is meeting with relatives who have had many grievances about the developments there. Our reporter, Natalie Malchus, is still in George for us, joining us now. Natalie, good afternoon to you. Thank you very much for your time. What are we expecting from the President's visit today?
Really, Mandy, this is a symbolic gesture. It's not expected that the President is going to move any rubble or retrieve anybody. But it is important for his presence to meet with those victims' families, as you mentioned, that's already underway. We're also expected to get a full briefing from all the role players who've been on site for the last 10 days. That includes the disaster officers, staff, and the Labour Department, because we are nearing the end of a search, rescue, and recovery operation. About 85% of the site has now been cleared. There's only about 500 tons left to search and clear from this collapsed building site. Then the site will be handed over, disaster officers will then hand the site over to staff for them to wrap up the investigation. Once that's been concluded, it triggers the investigation of the Labour Department. So the President, as the head of state, is getting a briefing on all the tiers of these parallel operations that have been running for the last 10 years.
I see that he was met by Western Cape officials, Premier Alan Winde, the Ministry of Health as well. And what we've seen over the past few weeks is really, or over the past week, is really this collaboration taking place between different arms of government. So do you expect that to be under discussion today? Or, as you say, this is just merely symbolic?
A lot of this operation has hinged on a collaboration. Not only is it a collaboration at this point between rescue workers and demolition crews, but at the very start of this crisis, that has been the biggest disaster to hit the environment sector in South Africa. No one has seen anything like it in the history of the country, but the collaboration, the partnership that kicked in from the second this building fell has been the kind of golden arc of this whole story, and it starts in the house with us. The private sector and the public sector worked out a strategy really quickly on how to work through all of those things that were coming in a conveyor belt setting, and really quickly the George Hospital was the primary hospital that everyone was fed to, and from there they were transferred to private facilities here in George, and there were state facilities in the Garden Route that were on standby to help shoulder that pressure. But absolutely that will be top of the agenda, again, for the President to be brought up to speed, just how those partnerships worked, how effective they were, and what impact that had on the success of this operation. Yes, there were fatalities, and much of the story doesn't end tomorrow when the site gets handed over to different arms of government and for the process to continue. the story certainly isn't over, and there will still be a lot of work. In fact, we heard from the Social Development Department that psychosocial support that's been offered to the families will continue for at least 6 months. All of those details the President will be brought up to speed on.
We know that from the news bulletin that 85% of the rubble has been cleared, so it is nearing an end, as you say. We've had a lot of questions into our show and across 702 and Cape Talk about accountability and the owners, the developers being held accountable. What can you tell us about that, what is being done there? Because the sense that many people are getting is that while this is a tragedy, there simply hasn't been enough to expose and hold these people accountable.
And I would have to agree, Mandy. In all the time that I've been on scene, as you know, from the early hours of Tuesday morning, hours after this incident happened, it has been a struggle to get hold of any of the contractors, the landowners, and all of these parties who have some role to play in being accountable to what happened here. At this point, we know new Victorian development of the landowners. They commissioned the work of the site. They hired the principal contractor, Leotal, who has an office here in George, to commission the work and make sure the apartment building goes up, 42 units of which were near completion. Leotal also hired the help of 6 subcontractors. Via statements and information in drips and drabs from these authorities, we've heard that they are cooperating with all the different investigations playing out. However, when we spoke to the police minister, the labour minister, the human rights commissioner earlier today, all of them said they haven't been forthcoming. It hasn't been at a speed that they are satisfied with. So we haven't been able to test the veracity of those comments from the developer and the landowner when they say we are interacting, we are having conversation, and we are cooperating. In fact, most importantly, when we speak to the families, some of whom are still waiting to hear news, waiting to identify their loved ones' bodies, or even of the survivors who are waiting to hear what happens next, what happens in terms of compensation and mapping a way forward, all of them have said the same thing. We are yet to make contact.
Natalie, thank you so much. Natalie Malchus, EWN reporter in George for us. She's been in George, as she says, from the early hours after this happened and doing an incredibly good job, really bringing this story to us in every single development. And I agree. I don't think that we've said enough. I don't think enough has been done around the accountability. I wonder if the President will announce some kind of inquiry, or perhaps the Premier will announce some kind of inquiry. Like the Usindiso fire, there was an inquiry there. Like I said, Benoni, there was an inquiry. I wonder if that's going to happen here. And there just simply hasn't been sufficient accountability. I'd love to hear from you. 072 702 1702 072 567 1567. Let me know what you think about that.
702. Mandy Wiener.
Weekdays, 12 to 1 p.m.
Well, 20 years later, and former President Jacob Zuma's corruption arms deal case looks like it is now going to go to trial next year, April. Or will it? Well, it's hard to tell. So that matter was back in court today. Bernadette Wicks, EWN reporter, following that for us. What actually happened in court today?
Well, Mandy, it was a very brief appearance, and what we do know is that, as you say, a trial date has now finally been set for April next year. It's also going to sit from July to September next year. Before that, though, they are going to return to court in August for a pre-trial conference.
Okay, so it's been set down for April, but in reality, we have been here before. Is this actually going to happen?
Absolutely, it has been set down for trial. It was set down for trial back in May 2021. And then what happened was the former president raised that special plea, which essentially put everything on ice for years and years and years. And he's introduced all of these various sort of pieces of litigation during the course of the last couple of years that have had the effect of stalling the trial from going ahead. And so we know that the MPA is hopeful that there will be no more hurdles ahead of that trial date next year, and that they will be able to proceed at that point. But the reality is there's a good chance that we will see some sort of applications that do have the potential to delay it even further.
Is all the stuff around Billy Downer and his recusal and the judge's recusal, that stuff's all out the way now?
On the last occasion that the matter was in court, the former president had brought the second application, which was aimed at Billy Downer's removal from the case, and that was dismissed in March. We did hear that he was planning on appealing that decision. What exactly is going to happen with that appeal at this stage, we're not sure of, though.
Bernadette, thank you very much. Bernadette Wicks, EWN reporter, giving us an update there. So it does look as though the former President Jacob Zuma's arms deal corruption case will now go to trial in April next year. I think we all know better, don't we? The fact that this has been going on for 20 years now, there's been constant delays. Some of it on the part of the NPA, as Zuma will point out repeatedly, he has always asked for his day in court. Let's see now if it actually happens.
This advert is paid for by the political party concerned.
The Democratic Alliance is on a mission to rescue South Africa. Together with the multi-party charter for South Africa, we have a real chance to bring in a new government that works. We can turn things around, but we cannot do it without you. In this election, the stakes are simply too high. Every single vote is going to count. A strong DA can rescue South Africa. Join the rescue mission on the 29th of May. Vote DA.
This advert was paid for by the political party concerned.
Before they buy your car, be really sure. Before they push too far, be really sure. Be really sure. Be really sure. Before you drive in and think what might have been. Before they buy your car, be really sure.
Get to the new Wheelie Mega Store in Midstream and choose from thousands of cars at wholesale prices. Wheelie.co.za, SA's most trusted place to buy, sell or trade your car.
Man, the sun is fierce today. I mean, look at that thing. Big bright ball of power. Only thing like it is my Go Solar solution. At just $1,399 a month, it's practically free. Sunbeatable. Biggest solar provider in the country. And fast. Speed of light. Installed my system in under 2 weeks. Sunbelievable. Sunbelievable. Bigger, faster, cheaper. Go Solar. Here comes the sun. GoSolar.co.za.
Investment chats with Standard Bank. Navigating investing during uncertain times.
So I'm sure, John, a difference that I will give, of course, is in the context of Standard Bank's offering, right? Money market accounts are typically low-risk investment options that offer competitive interest rates and liquidity and are ideal for short-term savings goals. Investment funds, on the other hand, involve pulling money into multiple investors or asset classes to invest in a diversified portfolio of assets such as stock, bonds, or real estate. So Standard Bank's money market account provides that balance between the two, offering the liquidity of a money market account with the potential for high returns, similar to investment funds, John.
Investment chats with Standard Bank on 702. Let's walk the talk.
What's up, Mandy?
On 072-702-1702.
Hi, Mandy. It's KB here from Tembisa. On the story of a 5-year-old being shot in Pretoria. I mean, the story of the buggy not being found, I mean, it's so sad. It means we are paying for nothing with these trackers. 7 days going through without a buggy being found. This companies must come up with new ideas, man. Cheers, Mandy.
Thank you very much for that. Look, I don't know the details of that. What we do have is news of arrests. So there has been at least a significant breakthrough there. Police arresting suspects linked to that shooting of 5-year-old Titibo Hopalani in Soshanguve over the weekend. He was killed during a hijacking. His father was coming home. He ran outside and he was shot and killed. So an update now from the Gauteng Police Commissioner, Tommy Ntumbeni, about what is happening in that case.
With this case in Soshanguve, where a 5-year-old was shot and fatally wounded, we have worked tirelessly day and night, and as for now, we had a breakthrough. The investigation has led the team to specific addresses in Soshanguve, where upon we arrested 2 suspects in different locations. In one of the locations in the house, the suspect was found in possession of an unlicensed firearm. In the other location, we also found the suspect not too far from the crime scene, or approximately to the crime scene, where we arrested also the second suspect in possession of unlicensed firearm. And in this case, this firearm is linked to a car hijacking which was committed during 2023 in Acacia, whereupon there was also a firearm in that particular case. We also moved to the third location. The third location where it is believed that the other suspect who is not arrested, based on the leads of the information, as we pounced in that house, we could not find the suspect, but we found the vehicle. This vehicle, it is reported stolen in Mabopani, and this vehicle, it is a vehicle based on information which is linked to the commission of the crime where the 5-year-old was fatally wounded. And as I'm saying, the vehicle itself is reported stolen.
That is the Gauteng Police Commissioner Tommy Mtumbeni, and maybe that answers some of your questions around the details of those arrests and what the police found. So a breakthrough, at least, that 2 people have now been arrested for the killing of 5-year-old Limpopo Chicken.
Reflect on Ubuntu Betu as we celebrate 30 years of democracy. Go to primemediaplus.com and ewn.co.za.
At the same time, KwaZulu-Natal police have shot dead 4 suspects in a shooting in KwaXimba near Durban. It's understood the police were closing in on that group early this morning, and that shooting taking place there. It's believed that they were linked to cash in transit robberies. And Nhlanhla Mabaso, EWN's KZN reporter, is there for us. And Nhlanhla, good afternoon to you. What do we know about this shooting earlier today?
Well, Mandy, what we know at this stage is that police have confirmed that indeed 4 people were shot and killed in those rented rooms in KwaXimba, west of Durban. That's eThekwini's Part 1. According to police officials, Mandy, this is a group that they have been looking for since last year, and this is a group from northern KwaZulu-Natal, Yo Empangeni and KwaXimba. KwaXimba is a deep rural in Ulundi, northern KwaZulu-Natal. So this group is said to have been working as construction workers in the west of Durban. But according to Police Provincial Commissioner Nhlanhla, these are people that leave their villages to do crime in other areas, but also disguise themselves as though they are ordinary working people, because in many of those locations, when you rent a room, they do not look for your particulars like your pay slips and your banking details. But Mkhwana has confirmed that this is a group that police have been hunting for and that they are still looking for others. Let's take a listen to the Provincial Commissioner himself.
And they've been operating in 2 parts of our province, 2 districts, the King Cletra district as well as the Herekwala district. So we realize that it's the same group, and working with some of the people that are not here. They're in a neighboring province. So we're still hunting for some of them. So we're able to locate them here. As you can see, they are only using this place to hide. Even the owner of this place that is renting the place up doesn't really know them, because when renting places, renting a room in places like this, you don't need to produce all your full details. You just present yourself and say, I want to rent a place, and and they take your ID only, maybe, and that's it. So we were able to, through the information, through the networks that we have, hardworking intelligence members that were able to infiltrate and get the information, was able to bring us here.
Do we know at this point perhaps how long they've been operating for as a gang? I think if I heard you correctly, you were saying that they commit these crimes, they hide out, and they carry on doing this. How long have you been chasing them?
I think it's been a couple of months. I think since last year we've been looking for some of this group, but we intensified our search at the beginning of this year. But they were moving in between Benoni and part of the Eastern Cape Coastguard side and back. So it hasn't been that long, but at least we're able to get these four. We're still chasing others.
And Francois, this of course is not the first such shooting we've seen over the past few weeks in KwaZulu-Natal, in which syndicates have been, members of syndicates have been shot and killed. What is the Provincial Commissioner saying about this strategy from the police?
Well, he's welcomed the police's work, Mandy, and he seems excited. According to him, Mandy, this will dampen down the amount of criminal activities, but mostly the gang-related activities, including your house break-ins, car hijackings, and these cash and transit heists that we've seen in the province. He's basically saying that police are acting on intelligence. But what he's raised concerns with is that in many instances, when they are going to arrest the suspected criminals, they are met with gunfire. For an example, in this scene, they recovered 3 firearms and 4 people were shot and killed. And I raised this question of whether it does not bother them that there's always these shootings. He says that in many instances, police would never open fire first. But also, maybe now that you've mentioned the mass shootings, you recall just last month, 9 people were shot and killed in a gunfight with police in Marian Hill. Later last month, 4 people were killed in Inanda. Just this morning, separate from this one, 2 other people were shot and killed by police in Clarwater. They are also said to be an alleged group that was terrorizing the communities. According to the police in the province, this is what they will do mainly until they dampen criminal activities. They say their aim is to arrest, but when met with gunfire, they are left with no option but to retaliate.
Atlanta, thank you very much. Atlanta Mabaso, EWN reporter on the scene there of the latest shooting, as he's described there, a number of such incidents where, as they're about to arrest these syndicate members, they open fire, a shootout ensued, and this morning 4 suspected criminals being shot and killed in that latest incident. 12:30, time for Eyewitness News headlines.
Thanks, Mandy. A very good afternoon. President Cyril Ramaphosa has arrived at the site of the collapsed building in George. 33 people have died as a result of the incident, which occurred 10 days ago. Authorities estimate 81 people were working on the partially completed apartment complex at the time of its collapse.